Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Nebraskans. The point of LB 575 is discrimination. The discrimination and the hate and the bigotry is the whole point. It is not about protecting women. It's not about keeping women out of harm's way. It's about the danger and the power of the imagination of a bigot, Senator Kathleen Kauth, and those who would support a bill like this. When you listen to her open, she's talking about if we let trans women play sports, how are they going to end up in a boardroom? How are women going to have the same opportunities? They won't get scholarships. They won't finish college. They'll be too afraid to play because they'll be in the arena with these hulking men who are obviously men standing over them, spiking volleyballs into their faces. Do you hear yourself? This is not the experience of athletes, of kids. In this bill, 575, we're not talking about the volleyball team that plays at CHI, the professional volleyball, the Supernovas? The Supernovas. We're not talking about that. We're talking about 7th graders who want to run track with their friends. And then the state coming down to put this government-sanctioned discrimination upon them when they are just trying to run track and play soccer and have fun with their friends at school. What's interesting about the wave of these anti-trans bills that we're seeing all over the country is that they're bringing a government solution, a government mandate to schools that for generations and generations and generations have already found ways to solve these problems, have already found ways to integrate trans kids, gender diverse kids, intersex kids, which we certainly have in our schools in Nebraska who are going to be negatively affected by this bill, through no choice. You know, even if you think being trans is a choice or something, or you think that there's scores of hulking, gigantic, physically buff men out here trying to become volleyball players so they can take scholarships away from girls, which there aren't. Even if you think being trans is a choice, it's still affecting people who have no control over what the hormones in their bodies are doing, and this affects them too. These bills are happening all over our country because as acceptance has increased of the LGBTQ+ community, of gay people, of trans people, of intersex people, of everybody among the spectrum. As acceptance has increased of these people, there's been a backlash of people like Senator Kathleen Kauth, where the efforts to discriminate have increased. As acceptance has increased, there's been the backlash of the increase in discrimination through bills like this. Because bills like LB 575 are not needed to protect kids. I think it's disgusting that when you guys think of trans people, trans kids, young kids, you picture boys in a locker room exposing themselves to girls, that you think that there's little boys out here in Nebraska who are doing that on purpose. You know, I think Senator Frederickson can probably speak to this. I can certainly speak to this. Do you know how hard it is to be a queer kid? Do you know how hard it is to know that you're not like everybody else and you're getting bullied, you're getting beat up sometimes? All of these things are happening, and bills like LB 575 just sanction that by the state. We see stories about this happening all over the country where trans youth are bullied in states where they've passed bathroom bills like LB 575, where they've passed discriminatory bills to prevent these kids from getting the health care they need. It increases bullying. It decreases safety for everybody. And for generations, supportive principals, teachers, families, they have taken these gender diverse kids and been able to take care of them. And now, as acceptance is increasing in our society, as more and more people are accepting of LGBTQ+ identities, for some reason we feel like we need to roll back that acceptance. We need to bring down the hammer of the government and say, I think we're being a little bit too accepting of these kids. I think that's a very, very dangerous view. Senator Kauth's open is a reminder that we can never underestimate the danger of the imagination of a bigot. Our youth, especially girls and especially queer youth, are in a mental health crisis in our country. There have been tons of articles about it, popular articles. The Atlantic did one recently. The New Yorker did one recently. I don't know if y'all read any of that. But you look around you, you can see that this is true. This is not because of trans kids. It's because of discriminatory bills like LB 575 and state-sanctioned bullying against these kids who are accepted by their peers. When states propose laws against your very existence, and you hear elected leaders and public officials speak about you like you're not even human, what do you expect? Of course these kids are in a mental health crisis. And what have we done this session to help them with that? These kids are the targets of state legislatures nationwide for harassment, for exclusion, for discrimination, and it is shameful of adults like us to not make sure that these kids are getting the help they need. Framing trans people, trans girls, as a danger to other girls, it also creates the pretext for more anti-trans legislation, for saying that these people are dangerous, that they need to be locked up, that they need to be taken away from their parents, which is something I know many of you believe, as you told me that personally. It sets them up for parental rejection, for the denial of medical care. Senator Kauth talks about, well, what about all these girls who aren't getting scholarships? What about the rate of finishing high school and college for LGBTQ youth? It's much lower than other groups of kids. And it's because of bills like this. This bill should fail in order to ensure that we have a Nebraska where everybody belongs, where everybody feels like they can be safe, they can call this place home, to uphold our oath to serve in a nonpartisan manner, to ensure fidelity to our values of equality before the law in Nebraska, and to honor our doctors and our business community and our teachers and educators who we trust to take care of these kids in our...
Excuse me, Senator Hunt. Senator Lippincott, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, point of order regarding the decorum of Senator Hunt. I don't believe it's appropriate for her to call another member within our group names.
Members, as a reminder, please keep your comments directed towards the bill and not personalities. Senator Hunt, you're recognized to complete your open.
Thank you. How much time do I have?
1 minute 30.
Thank you. If you'd like to censure me, please go ahead. This is the only thing I have to do yet for the year, so. We really need to open the lens up to say that we are sick of this post-Trump, state-sanctioned discrimination against children, which is bigoted to do.
1 minute.
And it's something that bigots do. And what this bill does at its heart is discriminate. It's a legal framework that treats people differently under the law because of their sex. It's because of all this boogeyman stuff that Senator Kauth has brought up, that she's got all of you believing, that she's talked about in the press all over the place. And the bill is a reflection of those views, and those views have no place in Nebraska. Government can make discriminatory laws, but to do so, there needs to be an important governmental objective or an important public safety interest or something like that. There is literally no reason to keep driving these kids into the ground with the hammer of government when all they want to do is play sports with their friends. They're not hurting anybody. And these kids exist in every school. We need to wrap them in love and support and not let them see that they're leaders of their state and these elected officials
That's your time, Senator.
Agree that they should be discriminated against. Thank you.
Thank